I'll call the meeting to order. Review the minutes from the last meeting. I wasn't present, so I won't be able to vote on it. Did everybody have a chance to already read
I
it?
didn't have any comments, did you?
No, I saw one small typo, but all the content's there.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Right?
Okay. I abstained from the vote only because I wasn't here.
All right, that's for Kelly. Kerry? Sign the minutes.
Paul,
Okay, thank you.
Paul Curry is coming in
No,
too.
he's all set, actually.
Yeah,
Yep, I talked to him, he's all set.
is he okay?
Mm-hmm. He is. He's good, actually.
All right, well, that takes care of all the new business. Except for, all these plans here we have for,
Yeah, those are future
is
warehouses.
this?
All the houses.
No, those are future, so you weren't here last week, there's like 5 or 6, commercial buildings / warehouses currently under plan. Some are actually already being built. So I saw, you don't really have to look at them. I'm gonna call each one of them in when they start getting moving. Because I saw a fire pump on one, so that was the one you saw last week. Another one, I heard some weird numbers out of their flow test, so it's just easier to bring them in and let them explain it, rather than let them go free out there.
35 to really building here. Additional parking for the.
No, that's Unite, you know the old Talbot's warehouse?
Yeah,
So they're gonna build a commercial warehouse in the parking lot across the street.
That's where the cars used to be?
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
So I think that they want to expand their parking on the other side. And they talk about some dirt area, I'm not sure where it is. I know you can drive around the building, so it might be on the far side. I didn't look because it's basically just parking. So Conservation Commission and the planning board and all of them will take care of looking at it to make sure that they make the parking lots proper. They already have parking lots, so it's not.
where's 35?
United Drive.
Oh, I see it. I see the site.
Most of them have moved along, but they haven't gotten, like the one across from the Manley Street plant is moving much faster.
Right.
And then the guy down the end of Manley Street, he went before, I believe it was the planning board, I think he's approved through them now.
Got the one where they've been parking all the
Yeah,
trucks.
where there's lots and lots of trucks.
Yeah. I'd rather have them have a building in there than what they're doing.
Well, that and he'll be required to put in parking lots for whatever else he might do in there.
Do we need to adjust our time fees at all?
Well, they basically tie, we don't usually do theirs because, unless you want to up the other fees, but it seems like the sprinkler line one seems okay, and the domestic is already enough that it makes them think about putting in larger domestic lines.
Right, doesn't one of them, we don't have a tier for because the square footage of a lot of these warehouses is higher than.
Right.
Is
Once
this the
they
old
get,
Chadwick's of Boston?
yes,
So who owns it now?
I believe,
Ajax?
Yeah, I believe it's a real estate firm.
Oh,
I don't know how they cleaned it out because they had that peat pot place in there for the longest time, and if you ever went in there, there was like dirt everywhere because they were making peat pots in there.
yeah, I remember that. And then, wasn't somebody making, something for food packaging in one of these
That's
buildings?
the,
Cheer package.
yeah, it's Cheer Pack. They're the first building. I don't know what their number is. Whether
Is that United Liquors?
Yes,
building?
that's the old United Liquors building.
Are they still there?
Yeah, I think they own the whole thing now.
Oh,
Yeah, they run 24/7, so they had an issue a while back there. I don't know why they put the backflow preventers outside. They've all been removed now, but they kept blowing apart all the time, so they never shut down except for, I think, Christmas and Thanksgiving, and that's it. But when the thing blew apart, they were down for a few days.
They move them
They're
inside.
expensive now.
Yeah. I don't know whether they use cheap materials, but it always seemed to happen on either pit. It happened outside of the vault.
now is that the same plan as this one, or is that another project?
This is 65 North Main Street. I'm sorry, that's the building department. No, it's just 38 United Drive.
Yeah, because there's,
Is that the Ajax bill?
Yeah.
Okay, is that the one you got too?
Yes, yeah.
Everybody got the same one?
Yeah.
They were three different ones. I was trying to figure out if they're all
well,
the
there's
same.
another one, there is another one, besides the one going in the parking lot, there's one going in the wooded area to the side of it.
So there isn't any new growth, it's just changing growth.
Right. Well, it's new growth in that place. They're building a building on a parking lot and building one in the trees.
Yes, there's two new buildings going in.
Right, and that old Snell property on the corner is gonna become a commercial building also.
Oh, yeah, but that hasn't started yet, right?
No, they haven't, they were like the first ones to do anything and then they kinda died.
They got their approvals though. So-
Yeah,
Right, they're not
and
yet.
then, yeah. they
They're
haven't-
just not building, they.
Right,
Probably hold it off because interest rates and everything have gone so high. Probably wait for the economy to figure out what's gonna happen. So, station 1, 2, and 4 of old business here.
alright, so, Blue Leaf, the pilot study conductor, they had to order new flow meters for their pilot filters. So they're expecting to mobilize here the week of 12/12, but they'll keep us updated should it happen any faster.
Okay. Station 3.
Alright, so Manley is online again. The well rehab's showing declining flow. Somewhere under your piles is a printout of that for both wells. The river well screen, it's corroded where it meets the casing. They recommend the next time we do anything in that well that we reline the well with the screen. The driveway well got relined with the new screen and that's working with no issues. It passed bacteria samples and we brought it back on. Catherine Howard is working with,
So it's a 24-inch diameter well
yeah,
that needs to be rescreened.
yeah.
Did they give you an idea of?
No, they didn't find any holes this time, so they left it alone, but they're recommending, if it follows through in another 4 years,
Okay.
that we plan on it when we go in. But if you notice, you can see over the years, this is the good thing about using the same vendor all the time, you can see the declining flow rates out of the well.
Yep, definitely.
Because it was all cleaned, when we brought it back online, it was flowing close to 400 gallons a minute, but filters could not handle the amount of iron or manganese, so we had to slow it down to, I believe we took it down to 325, and then it could handle it.
You see the difference between November of 2002, we were doing 23 gallons per minute per foot. And then 2022, we're doing 8 gallons per minute per foot. Still doing 300 gallons a minute, but that means that we're,
A lot
the,
more on
the well's going a lot further down to get the same amount of water.
Right.
It's getting tighter.
And that's what we could see towards the end of the summer. I could see it. It was drawing close.
Yeah. The water's there, it just can't get into the well.
Right, it's
Yeah,
packed. But
it's
there's,
all starting to flow.
It's
but
all
there's not a
plugged
lot
up.
of area in there to do anything. Like, you can't move that far. Those two wells are already close together. I think they're,
Well, see, we used to inject C5 into the ground
Right.
around there to keep the wells cleaner, and they did. We didn't have to redevelop those for years and years because we were putting the C5 into the ground, which kept the iron in solution, and it didn't plug up the screens.
right,
But then when we built the iron removal plant, you couldn't put C5 in before the treatment. So that as soon as we stopped that, we knew we were gonna have screen problems, and sure enough, that's what we got. That was old Pittengray's idea years ago, was to put that C5 in the ground. It worked.
yeah.
All right, what's the next one? How about,
How about anything, have we heard anything on the pilot work for that?
So the, Tanner and Howard's still working through a couple of, I think there are like 3 issues remaining, and it had to do with valves and stuff. It's nothing major.
Was that with DEP or just?
Yes, no, it's with DEP. So I did see that they had responded to DEP, with, you know, on the questions on what DEP had questioned.
Okay, so they're still moving forward, it's not
Yes.
just sitting.
Yep.
so we're done talking about Station 3, or you still got more on that?
No, I'm pretty much talked out on that one.
Okay. Update on the replacement well?
All right, so it passed its coliform samples, so it's good to go. VFD is currently due to arrive mid-January, so at least we have a delivery date. Tatter and Howard, so I sent off an email to DEP, because I asked Tatter and Howard about putting it to the street, what do I need? I didn't hear nothing back, so then I emailed DEP. So I got an email back from DEP telling me to work with the engineers, but he listed specific things, so I forwarded that off to Tatter and Howard, because I'm like, all right, here's your push, let's get moving.
Yep.
So they responded that they're supposed to work through the final issues so we can get a final walkthrough this week sometime.
Okay.
So hopefully they stay on track. And then that allows, because when the VFDs come in, the vendors are allotting us a couple of weeks of runtime so that they'll come back and then work through any issues that we have with the system. But I can't run it if I can't put it to the street.
Yep. Well, and the way it's going, you know, the chance it actually shows up mid-January,
Right.
and then they get everything up and running.
About the asset management.
So that was signed off and done, so we're just waiting on DEP now.
Walnut Street tank.
So I know they're working on it because they, request for information came in and I responded back. Did it take me, I think it might have taken me 2 days, but I got right back to them, so they are working on it.
So they figured out their licensing issue or whatever it was with the
Yeah.
computer model.
Yep.
How about Lincoln Street warehouse?
It's gone silent.
Really?
So I don't know whether, so I knew he had ordered the building, he had the building steel and he was storing it somewhere, I think Bridgewater or somewhere. But if you've ever been down 28 now, or it's 18, near where Claude Dubois is, they mowed down all those trees in that
Yeah.
hill and they're putting up one gigantic building. So I don't know, that's possibly the building.
Somebody told me that was supposedly an Amazon warehouse going.
Yeah, and that might be what he did, he just moved there instead. You know, I don't know, because they won't tell you anything when you ask them. other than he's not doing anything. I mean, he's already spent, I guess to them it doesn't matter, but he's spent significant money on engineering right here, but he's just gone silent again.
Yeah, they did, they cut down a lot of trees down there.
Oh yeah, they
graded it.
they leveled a lot of trees, like you went by and you could smell cut pine for a long time.
Yeah, they moved a lot of material too. They had big machines up there. Water rates, we haven't,
So they did send in the thing. I forgot to ask him to appear, but he did send in part of your stuff, the schedule.
so is he gonna come in and discuss this with us again?
So I can bring them in, you just tell me when you want and I'll ask if they'll come in and discuss it. A lot of things happened in the last 2 weeks, so.
No, it'd be good to get him to go over as far as what everything's included in the dollar values and whatnot, so we can figure out how to escalate it going forward.
Probably not next meeting though.
Oh, because
We have
that's
a
the,
special town meeting.
right,
Yeah, it's
so
special.
late December.
Did you find any money for solar?
So I looked, I reached out to the state, had something, I saw it. So I reached out to them, they pushed me back to reach out to, because I'm trying to find somebody that'll tell me where to go or how to get started. So they said to reach out first to UMass, so I have to have somebody go through all of the bills, so we have to remove, and I remember with the UMass thing, you had to hit a threshold before they would do it. So what somebody has to go through all of our electric bills and then remove the solar credit so we have the full bill. So I could say, we spend this much in electricity. So we need a year's worth of the data to say, this is what we do. And then I'll reach out to UMass and they'll come in and do a free study for us.
Oh, nice. Good.
You think we'll hit the threshold amount?
I think we hit the threshold. We weren't that far off, but when I first started adding up things, I didn't understand how it worked with the credits and stuff, and it's still kind of a convoluted thing, but it works.
Solar credits from the town solar field?
Yeah.
Anything on your job posting?
I know she just sent I didn't get to look at it, but I know she sent some. I haven't had time to look at it, we've been busy today. But I know there's something, we redid the ad, I know she posted it again.
Yeah, because that last guy that we thought about bringing in had already accepted something somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we missed on him.
So I'll get to look at him tomorrow and see what I see.
See anything you like, forward it to me. And
Yep.
Did you flush hydrants this fall?
We started, but then because of the demand, we couldn't keep up with it. So we did not flush, so that's kind of what happened today. Over the weekend, there was a power blip, or power went out here on Matfield Street. So it turns out the alarm systems, which always call me and alert me to power outages, they're not working, so they're coming in tomorrow to look at them. So I had no idea that the power blipped. When the power blips lately, it takes out the VFDs, so they won't restart. So station 2 was the on-call station, and station 1 also, so none of them would start. Manly didn't take a power hit, so it stayed running. But we had an issue with the middle filter on Manley Street, so then it forced all of the water to go through the 2 remaining filters, which can't keep up with the level of iron and manganese. But it ran the 24 hours till we caught it. It happened after our routines or our station rounds, so we had no idea what had gone on.
Did you get dirty water complaints?
We got dirty water complaints today, so.
Yeah, I had dirty water at my house last night,
Yep.
and it just looked like backwash water from an iron remover. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, well, it's very dependent upon where you were, but that's Manley
It
Street.
was a light rusty color.
Right.
And I said, this is weird. I didn't know if it was my water softener in my house
Yeah,
that, you know, I might have created a back,
Yeah,
sometimes if it goes into a backwash, you cause it by creating a backflow,
right.
and then just shift the bed around, you'll get dirty water for a while.
did they lose power for an amount of time, or did the power, it just flashed?
I
and
guess
they just wouldn't restart?
I guess the power went out, but when it goes out, the VFDs lately have been tripping, so they won't restart. You have to manually, physically go in. That's why I need the alarm system to call me and let me know, so I can send people out. I had no idea that the power went out. It didn't go out at my house.
So they were out long, the wells were out longer than the power was?
Yeah.
Because of the alarm system?
Yep.
All right.
So that created, Manley Street was the only one. It's now producing out of 2 filters where it needs all 3. And it was the only one supplying the town for a very good amount of time. So when we came in, we got everything reset, everything back up and running. By then it's 10 o'clock and the streets had warmed up enough for us to go out and flush. And it cleaned up pretty quickly, the phone calls diminished.
And I saw a hydrant on Cross Street with green caps on it.
Ross should have
I think
orange.
there's only a 6-inch cast iron main on there.
Yeah,
You better get that changed to yellow.
what are you doing down on Cross Street?
Went down to Paul Maroney's. I always look at the hydrants wherever I'm driving.
Yeah.
It's just habit. And as soon as I look at them, I know that when they're wrong, because
Yeah, most of the town should be orange.
'cause I painted them for many, many years.
So they're all stuck in your head now?
Yeah. Well, I just drive by and go, well, that one isn't right. And it's, you worry about them if they get on that someday and they're gonna try to vacuum with one of their pump trucks, somebody from out of town that doesn't know, they think they're on a 12-inch main, they could collapse that main.
Yeah, they don't,
And then you'll be busy.
they have called me before when they're trying to get more water, because they don't realize when they're on a dead-end link, so when they start tying multiple engines in on the same main, they realize they're sucking from each other. So I've been called before to tell them, you know, where they've gotta go to or relocate to draw more water.
They don't have a hanging up in the police
They
station.
do not, so that's one of the things to
Distribution.
get Deborah to do, is give them a distribution map that they can read.
They used to have one.
They may still, I
Hanging on the
mean, I
wall.
didn't take anything away, I go in and all I see is the TVs.
They should have it. And they used to have the young guys, the new guys, you know, try to learn them where the water was, you know.
I think we do a lot more with them.
And just like Matfield
ambulance
Street,
runs
yeah.
now.
Matfield Street has red,
From 106 to the highway?
Yeah,
red, orange, and green,
yeah,
all mixed in because there's 3 different mains on the street. There's a 12-inch, there's an 8-inch, and there's a 6-inch, or a 4-inch.
yeah.
So and they're, some of them are like on the same side of the road, but they're 2 different color caps because they're tied to different mains.
Yeah.
And it's confusing. Anything else that anybody got?
Nope, I wanted to ask you about what happened down here, we already covered that, so.
Yeah. Well, as we had the, so after the last meeting, our flow rates were down, so I scheduled to have the tank inspected. And they need a certain level because the divers can only spend X amount of time at various depths. So we began to drop the tank, which wouldn't require much, except the town went into a usage thing. For some reason, that night they went all out and the system kicked in and filled the tank back up. So when they arrived, they began squawking.
It was deep again.
Yep, so we drained it down enough for them to get what they needed to do in the second day.
But how do they get it out of the tank when you drop it down?
So they chlorinate their suits. They go in through the top.
Yeah, I know, but if you drop it down, that means they don't
I don't know how they get in, but they do. Yeah, that means they've gotta go that much further
If
down.
you drop it down 30 feet,
Yeah, they have
that's
a
a long
range.
jump.
Yeah, they have a range that they go to. They won't, there's an X amount of range. So, we got them in, they couldn't, the amount of sediment, what they quoted and bid for, they knew it was a 5 million gallon tank. They couldn't do in the time allotted, but they did the structural inspections and they did do some removal. It's a liquid thing, so it's not. And I mean, I've been here 17 years. This is the first time, other than when the tank was painted, that the tank was clean, so.
Did it say how much sludge was in the bottom?
I wanna say it was about 8 feet, but it's a liquid, so,
Yeah, it's that,
yeah, so the minute you move it or do anything, it's gone, so. I asked them while they were here, all right, so if I give you one more day, because they were done with the structural analysis, you can get it done? Oh no, we need 5 days, all right, you're out of here. Because it's $3,200 a day, and I don't have that kind of money to pull out of my budget. And it doesn't matter if we're still producing water that's high in iron and manganese, it's gonna continue to settle out there. It reaches the level of the outtake, and then it's just, that's as high as it's gonna go. And that's probably where the level is. I briefly looked at the reports, I didn't see any structural deficiencies.
The outtake now is.
Yeah, it's up, there's a T that's set up probably about 4 or 5 feet off the ground.
I thought it was on the pipe at different levels. I thought it.
No, there's a riser, so it goes, the riser pipe has a T about 5 feet up, so it has a check valve on the end of that, so when the tank is filling, it slams the check shut and then it goes up. There are 2 Tide Flex mixers built into the riser pipe, so at different levels it comes out of the
yeah, so
Tide
you
Flex.
mix, turn the tank over.
Right.
Yeah, I got a picture standing on the side, but I can't remember how we changed that. I know we changed it.
Yeah, that's what there was the addition of the Tide Flex mixers onto the fill pipe. Yeah, it's amazing when you stand inside of the thing, it's basically just a giant beer can bolted to the ground.
Oh yeah, that's all it is. Yep. But the steel on the bottom of that, they say is about that thick. And on the top, it's like that thick.
So they're not recommending any work needing to be done to it?
No, other than they'd like 5 days of coming
Well, yeah,
back.
for cleaning it out, but as far
Yeah.
as the tank,
No, there was no real work.
Saying it's fine.
Yep. Which I didn't, we just had it painted and that one was 2014. So I can't see it going bad in that amount of time.
Yeah, that was painted just as I retired.
Yep.
That was 2014.
Yeah, and you escaped before it hit the budget.
Yeah, planned that pretty good.
Yeah, it hit the thing for $1.4 million.
That's a big tank.
Yeah.
That takes
Well, that
some
was,
work.
it was also leaded, so now it's a de-leaded tank.
That was still leaded in
Yeah.
2014?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never painted it. Because it had lead paint, they
So just
said.
left it.
And we never needed to paint it. It was 40 years old before it really needed it.
Yeah.
And they paid less for the tank to be built back then than they paid for the paint job. This-
I believe that.
And that's why
Why
they
is it
didn't,
that?
they didn't disassemble the little one because it was gonna cost us more to disassemble than it was to paint it. It was $560,000 to paint the little one, which was done in 2016. But it was gonna cost, the original plan was to paint the big tank and remove the little one, but in the end, when the quotes came in for removing it, it was cheaper to paint it and keep it.
Was that lead too at the time?
No, that one was de-leaded, I forget when, but it was de-leaded.
Yeah, none of our tanks have lead paint anymore, thank God. They had to encapsulate that whole thing, that's what made it so expensive too.
So additionally, we're having some issues with our metering system. I don't know if, so when I took over, we had just switched to the new vendor, and it took Carrie and I about 2 years to work out, there's a string It's one line that's comma delineated, so with X amount of spaces for, like address, names, meter numbers, readings. And everything is now in the cloud, so you can't really see anything, and it's two separate vendors. There's our meters, which is Badger, so we collect data into the Badger system, which goes up into a cloud. And then there's the billing system, which is where we input all of our data, and then it's translated back to Badger for us to be reading, and then it's translated back to the billing system for them to produce bills. Somewhere along the way, somebody's done some updates and it's beginning to screw up the lines of code, or something's gone very wrong. So we're trying to expedite them to fix it, because it's multiplying in issues.
There's like 16, it's probably like 16 households that it's affected, where the readings, obviously the meter's working, but when they drive by, they're not getting the signals, and they're trying to figure out if it's because of an update, or we actually have a conference call on Thursday of next week.
Oh, so when you said somebody did, so not somebody here?
No,
somebody-
No,
something out
nobody
there.
here, right, we
But
can't.
somebody
Right.
probably at Badger, if you have
Well,
trouble.
it's either
with
Badger or Amstead, it's, I'm not sure who did it, but.
Yeah.
But,
It's the way they set up their system, like you said, they're comma delineated, so like if you have if they have like one symbol in the wrong column, then it seems to be like the new developments, where we're having the issue.
the newer meters have a decimal point where the old ones didn't,
Right.
so.
So even though the meter's working, they're just getting like the basic reading, so then all of a sudden, when they had the update, all of a sudden they got that catch-up bill.
Yeah.
So, and it's not, and rightfully so, they're upset when they call, but I'm like, what did I, instantly I'm like, it's not, and I go back and look, and it's not anything I did, because it's in the background. I don't know anything about the background for either, and it's an issue, so that's why we're gonna have the conference call but it's
Yeah.
about 16.
So yes,
Well,
maybe if it's the new
houses or
meters are suddenly running a decimal point.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's setting something off in the wrong.
So the old meters are CE, they're called CE styles, and they hold 2+ years worth of the data within them. Badger did away with them. They now have the new ME styles, which hold on a rolling 90 days. So we can only look back 90 days from the date that somebody calls us in. So I have the rep styles, the Badger rep, coming to sit with me, because it's not acceptable. By the time the customer gets their bill and starts arguing that they couldn't have possibly used the water, the 90-day period for the bill that they received it's gone past. I can't see back into it.
Right, that's kind of ridiculous.
Right.
If they did that.
So so they're supposed to come, I forget, Monday or Tuesday, he's supposed to come and sit with me and give me other solutions, because I told him that it doesn't work. If I can't see back, then it's not working for us. And we're not a big town, I can't add on cell fees and other fees, it just gets too expensive. So I'm looking at that, trying to find another way around that.
I mean, they don't have that archive, when you say the meter, that's the local stuff, they don't have that archive back in their system?
Right, so I haven't looked back, I have to have time to sit still first, and
Yeah.
I haven't had it, but I want to see, history. We're reading the meters twice a month just to stay on top of it, so we have some history, but I need to find out how I can get at that history, but that only shows you, it'll show you half months, so that helps a little, but it doesn't, when you can go back day to day and say, all right, you're running along, all of a sudden you see this spike, that it kind of hits home.
Speaking of meters, did you get a chance to look at the one down, was it Westbridge, that we talked about last time?
So that was actually calibrated, it was tested in August. I still sent it out, I haven't received anything back yet.
Okay.
Because I think what they do is they save up a whole pile, and then they go to, there's a town that has a meter setup that they're allowed to use. And then they test a whole pile of meters at once. But his meter tested fine in August. I called Ed back and said, you need to stop looking somewhere else. And because his was the new style, I can only see back 90 days, but it was like the first day that I could see a low flow, and then the next 89 days were all high flow, but I couldn't see back far enough to see anything. I'm gonna look to see if I've got like an old one back there, but his meter runs so much that I think it's undersized. It should probably be more like 1.5 inches on that instead of, but it's built into the compound meter. So if I ever get time to get down in the pit, I'll see if we can find a way to do it with fittings and change it out. But we've been in his park before, and when we drove around, all of a sudden his meter stopped. So I reminded him of that fact.
So you don't think it's like, you think it's use, it's not a big leak somewhere or something?
No, the last time, so in the 90 days that I could see, I can see it going down towards 0 in the morning hours, but it never gets to 0, but it slows way down, and then all of a sudden, as you get into the, you start going past.
People start using.
Right. 4 or 5 a.m., you see it go back up. You can see the V's in it. But he seems to have a lot of usage in there. And he almost equals the same as Matfield Woods, which is 3 times his size.
As long as we know the meter works.
And it's what I stay on top, we replace it on a regular basis, just to make sure it stays working.
You're talking 3 months ago, it was checked and it was fine,
Yep.
so.
Anybody got anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, second,
Or on the next meeting?
Next meeting.
December 5th, 5 o'clock.
then we get to go to the special town meeting.
When's that?
December 5th at 6 or 7.
All I've heard is that there's something about the taxes going up $400 a year.
There was they did a public thing at the high school last week I went to, talking about the sports field thing, which is, I guess, what mainly the thing is about. And they were talking about the thing they talked with the building for the indoor basketball being something like $18 million.
Oh my gosh.
They did another one without the building with the same, and adding another field or outdoor courts in its place, and that was down around, I think, 5
million?
Yeah, no, closer to
8.
Closer to 8, because it was about 10 million. The building itself was worth like $10 million. And then they have 2 smaller articles for
What do we need this for?
too many kids, not enough fields. Is basically what they said. They're all trying to play on the turf field at the high school, so that's getting overused. And they just have a lot of kids in sports for the amount of fields they have. I mean, that building's gonna be a tough one.
I think some soccer, young soccer plays in East Bridgewater too as their home
Just the
field.
maintenance on something that big.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Forget about the cost of the mortgage on it. Just the upkeep and the people it's gonna take to.
Was there something about the Rose McDonald too?
Not in this one.
no, nothing
We're
on
speculating
roads
maybe in
out
the
there. Alright, one of them is pickleball courts and a basketball court at the senior center or Howard School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another article is, I think, tennis courts at and
Baseball.
yeah, changing the baseball field at the high school to a artificial turf multi-sport field and adding a tennis court or 2, I think it was.
Yeah, right along the roadway, right? So where you gonna put it?
Yeah, back where the other tennis courts are, I thought, like around. There wasn't that far from them. I didn't think. I wasn't looking at that much detail at it at that point. But yeah, that's, I guess, one's not even a borrow, one's just a free cash article, I think, the one by the senior center in the Howard
Yeah.
School, and the other 3, I think, are all borrowing.
And there's an article for the building department too, which I don't know what it is.
Oh, they might be, I know that something to do with they're moving them or they're,
They're moving money that they already have or something like that,
Yeah.
from one fund to another, but they need town approval to do it. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.